Buddy, thanks for joining. Um, let's see. The first, everyone can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So aside from welcome and introductions, do we need to do introductions? Do we all know each other? Should we just go around quickly? Oh, there's Brenda. So we have Anne Snoyenbos, Brenda Carter, Christina Peter, John Julian, Kim Leader-Reed, Lana Saglasnova, Mark Winek, Masha Stepanova, Michael Herrick, and Lushka Nazarova, right? All present and accounted for? Great. So after that, the next item on the agenda is an update on the Seas West merger. So as most of you, if not all of you, probably saw, the ACRL Board of Directors approved our motion to merge Seas and West effective September 1st, 2017. So I'm just going to read you one paragraph from the Board of Directors action form, which basically just lays out sort of the logistics of the next steps. So it reads, the nominating committees of Seas and West will not run vice chair candidates for the 2017 election. When the merger is finalized on September 1st, 2017, the sitting chairs of Seas and West, Lana Saglasnova and Kristen Totleben, will become co-chairs of the newly constituted ESS. As of September 1st, 2017, the nominating committees and conference program planning committees and the award committees will be merged. All other subsection level bodies, committees, discussion groups, etc., will remain unchanged. The composition of ESS and the configuration of its constituent committees and other bodies will be subject to review by the ESS Executive Committee in future years. The ESS Executive Committee will consist of a chair, a vice chair, chair-elect, a secretary elected for a one-year term, a member at large elected for a one-year term, and the committee chairs who are each elected for two-year terms. In the 2017 ACRL election cycle, Seas will hold an election for a secretary, one-year term, and West will hold an election for a member at large, one-year term. In the 2018 ACRL election cycle, the newly constituted ESS nominating committee will hold elections for an incoming chair, a vice chair, chair-elect, a secretary for a one-year term, and a member at large for a one-year term. Any questions about any of this? From anyone, is this all clear and what we were anticipating?
It went kind of quickly, but
okay.
Do you have the text somewhere?
Yes. I do. I mean, I can send it around easily. I don't think I can share it. I might be able to paste it into the chat window.
Was it posted on the website?
The documents have not yet been posted on the website. Okay. Should I just do that?
At some point you can. It's fine. I mean,
you could, or
it
you
sounds
could
reasonable to me.
You could send it to me so I can include it in the minutes.
Yeah, so I can send you I'll send you the whole action form, but I can also put it on the website. I mean, are there any just sort of merger related questions of any
seems
sort?
Reasonable.
Okay.
I'm wondering about the different committees. It sounds like we'll all continue to exist after the merger. But then what I'm thinking in terms of the newsletter and my committee, what do we call ourselves? We're not the ESS newsletter because there will also be a publication from the West side.
Mm-hmm. That is all to be determined. I mean, essentially, for it, the key sentence about all of this here is all other subsection level bodies will remain unchanged. The composition of ESS and the configuration of its constituent committees and other bodies will be subject to review by the ESS Executive Committee in future years. So the idea is that everything will remain unchanged through the initial merger, which is effective September 1st, but then moving forward, the makeup of the new section will be subject to review by the leadership of that section. So no, other than merging those three committees, which are the nominating committee, the conference program planning committee, and the award committee, everything else is going to remain unchanged initially. And then it will be, again, up to the leadership of the new section to decide what, if anything, to change as time goes by. So what's important given that is just that representatives from our part of the world remain active in the new section, which, certainly at least talking about the current West leadership, so that's Katie Gibson is the current chair and Kristen Totleben, who will be the new chair. They're very anxious to work with us and to collaborate and to have this, really be a section where everybody is represented. So all the C's people, as well as what would formerly have been C's people and what would formerly have been West people. So it's really incumbent on us to make sure that we're well represented in the makeup of the committees and in the leadership of the section as a whole. So where we're at a slight disadvantage is in the fact that traditionally there's a whole section of the profession that hasn't been active in C's. It's sort of been primarily a technical services body, and because we have another conference that pretty much all the bibliographer people attend, that being a C's, there's a lot of the population that hasn't sort of been active in the section. So if there's anything that we can do about that moving forward, that would be great. But yes, for the time being, other than those three committees, everything else remains unchanged, and then it's up to the leadership of the new section, which should include C's people, to determine what, if anything else, needs to be merged or changed as time goes by. Does that make sense? Are there any questions about any of that?
Just to follow up with what Mark said, so for this next year, we're working on the newsletter for 2017. It will remain as the Slavic and East European section newsletter for this year. Is that correct?
It will, yes, because the merger isn't effective until September 1st.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. Yes. Any other questions, comments?
I just wanted to ask, who's taking minutes of the meeting?
Masha should be.
I am.
Okay.
Taking
Great,
minutes.
thanks.
It's also being recorded.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So it'll be available. If you actually want to relive it in real time, you will be able to do that, but Masha's taking minutes as well.
I may need to. How do I access the recording? Is there going to be a link sent?
I believe there's a link sent out through ALA Connect.
Okay.
But I'll look into that and make sure that everybody has.
In case I need to clarify something.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
Certainly. Anything else on agenda item number 2? Okay, and I'll get those documents sent around and posted to the website. That being the action, what do they call it? Board of Directors action form that contains all the details.
So if you post those, I don't know where you're going to post those. If you post those, I guess on either our news site or the executive site, please make sure to post them also in an appropriate place in the archive.
Okay. Okay.
And if there's not an appropriate place, we can talk about what we need to do.
How to create one. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Sounds good.
But just let me let's keep in touch with that.
Sure. Will do. All right. In that case, we can move on, I think, to item number 3, which is the nominating committee report.
I guess that would be me, Christina Fischer. Hi. I chaired the nominating committee this year, and first and foremost, I would like to thank the members of the committee. First and foremost, Jelena Lukert, who gave a lot of effort and put a lot of work into this, and also Martha Dayrup. So we had one open position, which was for secretary, and we ran a little bit into the East-West merger that Thomas just talked about, which complicated matters somewhat. We didn't realize right away the secretary would have been under previous rules a 2-year position, but because of the change that you just read out the document, it's now a 1-year position before the merger. So I am happy to say that Myra Banza, of associate professor at Western Michigan University, did agree to be secretary. We ran the ballot. It was unopposed, and the ballot was submitted. So Myra Banza is going to be the secretary for the next year for a 1-year term. And basically that.
Could you repeat her name again, please?
Oh, sure. I might be massacring it too. I don't exactly know how to pronounce it, but the first name is Maira. And then Banza, B-U-N-D-Z-A. B as in boy, U, N as in Nancy, D as in David, Z as in zebra, A.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Christina.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And yes, apologies about the confusion there. We vis-a-vis the length of the term. The merger details got quite elaborate at a certain point.
Yeah, I should have realized it earlier, but So, but it's okay now, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All's well that ends well.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is some discussion of collaboration and coordination opportunities between the new section, so ESS, and the ACES Clear committees, as well as the IRC Eurasia and Central Asia subcommittee. Does anyone have thoughts on this subject? I mean, one thing is that, you know, when we were first responding to ACRL's instruction that all sections falling below the 400-member quota be either merged with another section or be downgraded to a discussion group or an interest group, there was talk between SEAS, West, and the Middle Eastern section about possible merging, and the Middle Eastern section ended up deciding that they didn't want to do that. So, of course, Slavic, East European, and Eurasian studies, has very fuzzy boundaries, and there are many aspects of Near Eastern studies or Middle Eastern studies that are relevant given the geopolitical history. So collaboration between what will now be called a European studies section, so is decidedly European, and other Slavic, East European, and Eurasian studies bodies seems like a good thing to make sure that the non-European parts of our territory are covered. So,
I'll jump in here for a minute.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
As the chair of ACES Clear, we received.
I'm sorry. Would you say the name, because we can't see from this website
sure.
who's speaking? I'm sorry about that.
Hi, Christina. This is John Gillian.
Hi, John.
How are you?
Okay, thank you.
Good. So we received an inquiry which actually asked us if we could talk about how the various organizations might communicate with each other. It becomes increasingly hard for many people to be active in all of them, and so what happens is people tend to be active in either one or two, and rarely, with a few exceptions, all three. The question was about how do we kind of work together so that there's not a lot of duplication of effort, and so that we can be aware of what's going on in a general sense. I mean, ACES Clear and SEAS both have their own individual websites, and they do different things. But is there a way that we can combine efforts to represent the field as a whole and be less divided into two separate units? I don't know if anyone has any creative or brilliant ideas. I don't have a solution, but that's kind of where that question was coming from.
I mean, for me, the first two things that come to mind are the possibility of establishing liaisons in the different bodies is one thing that could happen. So if there were actually people who are responsible for maintaining communication between the new ACRL section and the ACES Clear committees, and possibly also the IRC Central Asia Subcommittee. And the other thing is something that's already happening is collaboration at the conference program planning level. So essentially combining forces to plan and sponsor programs at ALA or other conferences. Those are the first two things that come to mind for me. Anybody else have any thoughts? And I'm guessing that the people who raised these issues didn't accompany them with any suggestions for ways in which this might be addressed?
Well, I think it's a very difficult problem.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people may be tangentially involved in Slavic and East European studies while their main assignment is related to something else in another organization.
Right, okay.
Could be archives, could be preservation, could be something else. So, you know, with limited funds and travel availability, one kind of has to choose which one to go to be active.
Right.
I don't know if there's an easy solution, but if there are ways in which, say, for example, Cs and ACs can let's say have a gentle person's agreement. We'll do this and you do that. Does that make sense?
In theory, it makes all kinds of sense. It's just how you organize it and make sure that you put some kind of mechanisms in place to make sure that it continues happening.
If I may say something, this is Christina. I mean,
Right.
I think that ACES Clear also consists of 4 or 5 subcommittees, and it actually might be it might be a little bit more practical to look what all the subcommittees do and what ACRL subcommittees do, and on that level, I think, because I wouldn't be able to come up with the name now, but there is an ACES Clear subcommittee that would probably work perfectly well with the ABC committee, for example. So it's more like these little common interest groups might actually, you know, look at each other. I mean,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. And I mean, there's a couple of ways that could go. One would be for the corresponding subcommittees or subsection level bodies to work with each other. Another one might be that if we feel that some territory is being adequately covered by a ACES Clear subcommittee, do we necessarily want to have a committee level body that addresses the same issue or not? You know, as time goes by and as the internal configuration of the section, you know, is something that will be revisited.
Well, the new ACES Clear subcommittee is called the Subcommittee on Education and Access, and it essentially covers some of the same territory which ABC Committee and Access and Preservation Committee covers. So clearly there would be opportunities for the two committees to, or the two ACES committees to talk to the ACES Clear subcommittee. And
sure.
I believe that Joe Linkart is he not the chair of the Access and Preservation Committee at present? Am I incorrect in that, or am I correct in that?
No, he is.
And he is also the chair of the subcommittee on education and access in ACRL. So they are.
Well, maybe that's the model we need to follow. Yeah.
In any case.
So communication shouldn't be an issue.
Let's hope not, right?
Right. Well, and also, at the moment, Brad Schaffner is the chair of the Program Planning Committee, and he's also the chair of the IRC Eurasian Central Asia Subcommittee.
Co-chair, I would add.
Excuse me. Yes.
Thank you.
Terribly sorry. So, I mean, if that continues organically, that would be great. But Lana, were you trying to say something?
I'm just thinking aloud here from what I've been hearing. And it seems to me that, Thomas, your idea about the liaison and John's points and Christina's points about subcommittee structure might actually work together, because
sure.
we could also look at liaison not at the top level, but at the liaison between particular committees and subcommittees. And
sure.
Actually, if there are people who are practically active in both of these organizations, maybe they could be a natural starting point even. So maybe they could be approached to serve as a formal liaison, again, as a starting step. And we could start with that and see where that is.
Okay. Are there other thoughts on this topic?
Another thought that I had is that much of that collaboration, in order for it to be successful, it might help if it is project-oriented, because collaboration is such a vague term. It can cover everything. But when you have a tangible thing, even such as a website or a report or an article, that is a real opportunity for collaboration. And so if we look at the activity, the activities and outcomes that can come out of that collaboration, I think it will be easier to sell to everyone.
Agreed.
Talking about collaboration, we can just acknowledge what we have in fact been doing, especially again people who are already wearing tools we have.
That makes sense.
So, for example, the Slavic cataloging manual.
No, medal. Thank you.
That's something that both people on both committees ostensibly could be involved in.
That's right, but if they again acknowledge their formal participation in both organizations, that is actually a good example of liaison in action.
Yeah.
And even with the newsletter, probably, and definitely, and so definitely the Education and Access Committee and the ABC Committee. There is no need for duplication, but because there is a need for actual collaboration to be acknowledged for what it is.
Good suggestions all. Thank you very much.
Can I say something?
Certainly. Is that Muzgan?
Yes, it's Muzgan. I just wanted to add about programming at the conferences. I just learned in Atlanta they're changing. They're taking a new approach to the programs. It will be there will be less spots available for the programs, and they're actually encouraging collaboration between different committees for joint programming.
Okay.
That is something, a new direction that ALA takes, just for general information.
I actually, and I may be remembering incorrectly here, but I actually think that over the last several years, they have said that applications for or proposals for programs where multiple bodies are collaborating will be privileged.
Yeah.
I think they've always sort of preferred that.
Absolutely. They did a survey of the rooms, how many rooms they reserve and pay and how many of them are used. It was a whole survey, and they realized that there are a lot of empty spaces unused.
Yeah.
They block and pay for, so they took a new approach. And I don't know when exactly it will be implemented, but they also talked that collaboration will be desirable for the joint programs.
Okay. Well, so I mean that's yet another reason
Yeah.
for us to be trying to collaborate across committees, bodies, sections,
Yes,
subcommittees, etc.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that.
Also, from the practical point of view, with financial considerations, if someone just cannot get financial support for membership and traveling to both conferences, they can actually, but they can't afford to be a member of just one. Then designating this person as a formal liaison to the other organization might actually work very well.
Yeah.
Because even though they don't need to go to the conference, they can participate as a contributor, if that makes sense.
That's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks very much.
With administrators too.
No, exactly. Well, thank you very much. Anything else on this? Doesn't sound like it. Okay. The next item is the ABC committee reports.
Yeah, I will be very brief.
Can you speak up a little bit, Mustan? I am sorry, I don't hear you very well. I can hear Thomas very well, but not you.
Can you hear better now?
Is that better, Christina?
Is it better?
Yeah, it is like better.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I just don't want to be too loud. So my report will be very brief. Apparently, you all have heard we had a panel presentation at the ACES conference, which went well, and we had a meeting after the panel. Christina, Lana, we were all participating, Larissa and Thomas Dauza. We had a short meeting after the panel about developing a transition plan, because as we are aware, the work on Slavic cataloging manual is over, and we were trying to decide what are the next steps. And Larissa already has compiled a list of things to do at the second phase of work. So while we were discussing that, we came to the idea of creating a subcommittee of maintaining the Slavic cataloging manual. In the meantime, certain people agreed to continue to respond to the queries, to monitor the email, and maintain the website. Mel will be doing that, and Tom was continuing as the interim content editor. But in the recent discussion, speaking about the subcommittee for maintaining the manual, and we were actually going to make a call for volunteers. In the recent discussions with Thomas and some of you, we came to the idea that instead of the subcommittee, we will create a task force. And Lana, thank you so much. She found out the information. She cleared it with ACRL that we can actually create another task force. And I don't know how it will be called, like second phase of Slavic cataloging manual, or further, whatever. We will come up with the name. So that's how it stands for now in terms of SCM work. In terms of the membership of our committee, I look at the roster. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 members right now, and our terms end in June 2017. So I believe it will be a question to Thomas or maybe Lana, so how we will fill the spots for this committee. Will we continue this committee, or we will just create the task force for the cataloging manual? I mean, these are all questions which are all unclear to me. I need your help.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think in terms of section level bodies that we necessarily want to make any decisions at this point.
Yes.
I think it's probably better to, to actually go through the merger and then revisit these. But of course, we do need somebody that is responsible for maintaining the Slavic cataloging manual. Have there been any questions raised about hosting it?
Lana, can you address it? You were at the meeting as well. I think right now, where is it? Where is the platform? I don't know that site very well. John?
Yes, it's currently hosted on a Google Sites site, which is linked to the SEAS website. Jeff Husich set up that site initially for the cataloging manual. So it's it's a cloud-based website.
But the address, I'm sorry, it's Christina. The address will obviously change when the merger happens, right? Because right now it has SEAS in the URL, so that I'm sure will change. So that will need to be advertised when it happens.
We do have a webmaster now.
Right?
Yeah, who finalized it and did our most of final proofreading and who agreed to maintain it until after the merger. So at the moment it is taken care of. Yeah.
One of the good things about the Google Sites platform is that the navigation is directly tied to the titles. So when you change the page title, it automatically changes the navigation. So
and the URL as well?
You can actually go in and make the URL shorter, and you put specific short ones in there. You can do that manually, but you don't need to. It does it automatically.
Okay.
Could we leave the URL as it is, because that would save the committee an awful lot of work, because if the URL changes, then a lot of emails to all the listservs, everybody has to go out. This is at a new.
I don't think that the URL on the landing page needs to change just by changing the. So if you made it. It's still going to be the Slavic cataloging manual, right?
Yeah, yes, but the Google site, I don't know it offhand, but the Google site has in the string SEAS somewhere.
The URL does, you mean?
Yeah, the URL does.
I think that's okay. I don't think that necessarily is a problem.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily need to be changed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
excellent.
In terms of... go ahead.
Sure, just a short comment. There is also the generic email on the Slavic cataloging manual website for questions related to it, and the webmaster monitors it regularly. There was a little bit of activity when it was just announced, and not much has happened since. Yeah. But there is a way to maintain communication about the manual through that link.
If I may make a comment, this is Christina again. I just came back yesterday, actually, from the ARLIS conference, the Art Library Societies conference, and in there, one of the cataloging sections, I did a little introduction about the Slavic cataloging manual, and which was quite well received. And people did have questions, so I just came back yesterday, so I haven't dealt with anything yet, but I will develop a few concrete questions that I will forward to the committee. Most importantly, how frequently it will be updated and how to make comments and such. So.
Let me just make one last comment on the URL. It doesn't need to change because the acronym could be Slavic and East European Studies Cataloging Manual, so it doesn't really matter. It's just the way that the Google account was set up. So the actual username is SEAS SCM, but that doesn't have to stand for Slavic and East European section, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Excellent.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
So I just want to summarize. In the meantime, we have people who are kind of maintaining and responding and monitoring. But the task force can be formed, as we received from Megan, can be formed, and Thomas, you mentioned, formed after September. But in the meantime, we still have to think about people and recruiting, someone or one or two people to continue working on it. So it's just to keep our minds open, of finding the proper people to
Sure.
maintain. That's very crucial.
Yes. Okay. Good point. Thank you very much, Don. Okay, the newsletter editorial board reports.
Okay, I'm going to be doing that today.
All
This
right.
is John Gillian. Mark Winnick and I are both co-chairs of the newsletter editorial board, and Mark did a wonderful job leading the meeting on Tuesday, and I agreed to give the report for the meeting. So I will report that new members this year are Christine Kortenik Dulaney and Ulla Lechtenberg. Christine is from American University, and Ulla, her name is Ursula, but she goes by Ulla, is from Sacred Heart University. I believe that's in the Northeast Connecticut, maybe. Ulla will be covering the news from U.S. and Canada, Christine, the news from abroad. Lisa Baker and Masha Stepanova, again, will collaborate on grants and acquisition section. Mark Winnick will continue the transition. Sandra Levy and Ulla Lechtenberg will work on the bibliography, and the librarian profile is yet to be determined. We have a couple of proposals which came across email in the past day or two, and so we'll be working on that. Mark sent out a call, and we've gotten some, so that's good. As far as the Treasury report, John reported that there is $2,220.17 in the account. We have not purchased a domain for the website at the moment because of the impending merger with WES.
Okay.
So things continue as is with no changes. As far as the website report goes, content editors from each committee have access to edit their committee pages. John maintains access and provides access to new content editors for each committee. If anyone has any great ideas for new, possibly interactive content for the website, he is all ears. Deadlines for content to be submitted to section editors for the newsletter, March 7th, Tuesday. By March 20th, section editors will submit their texts to the managing editor, Mark Winnick, and the compiled newsletter, that due date is sliding. We're not sure exactly what that is. But the print deadline is April 24th, but that's electronic is flexible. So I anticipate with Mark's leadership as a managing editor again, it will go off as planned, kind of the same schedule as last year. With the newsletter committee, there were a number of questions that came up, and I will just read those as an opportunity for people to muse about them as the merger between the sections occurs.
Mm-hmm.
So questions 1, will the committee continue to exist, the newsletter committee? For now, yes. In the future, we know that the new executive committee will address that. So will SEAS and WES have a combined newsletter? Will the title of the newsletter change? What happens to the existing SEAS and WES ISSNs? What will happen to the message from the chair in the SEAS newsletter as it is currently constituted? What sections could be added to the newsletter? Are there sections that should disappear? And the question came up as what recommendations should the SEAS newsletter committee, or editorial board rather, make to the new leadership of the merged section. So those are points to ponder, I guess.
Okay. And I think I've made this abundantly clear already, but just in case, you know, both our newsletter and Wes's newsletter continuing as is indefinitely is certainly a possibility. If it's determined that that makes the most sense and that their readerships are distinct. So
one thing that I'm sorry, are you?
No, that's all. Go ahead.
One other thing that I forgot to add because it was on the next page.
Mm-hmm.
One question that the newsletter editorial board had, or one idea, is that we might like to meet with the West Publications Committee, the newsletter committee, just to brainstorm ideas and see what the general consensus is. You know, whether we want to continue two separate ones related to the two different regions, or whether we wanted to possibly consider merging.
Does West have a newsletter committee?
They do have they have a publications committee, and their newsletter group falls under that.
Okay, right.
And our newsletters are very different. They have sections that we don't have in ours, and we have things that they don't have. So,
my understanding is that ours is somewhat more ambitious than theirs, and that ours is sort of traditionally sort of been a record of the profession. Am I right? And I don't think theirs is quite as.
No, theirs is has a larger section of featured articles and a few other announcements and news type things. So I don't think it would be too difficult to combine them.
Okay.
Because we're not. Well, I don't know.
Because there isn't that much overlap as it is, so they can just sort of complement each other.
Yeah, that's my initial impression. I mean, initially my impression was to keep them separate, but you know, who knows? A combined newsletter might work. So, didn't I miss anything, Mark? Anything you want to add?
No, I think it was quite admirable.
Oh, thank you.
All right, thanks to both of you. Access and Preservation Committee reports.
Is Joe not here to report on that?
I haven't seen him. I'm just flipping through the attendees list now. I don't see Joe, and I don't see Brad.
Brad is not here today. I will be reporting
on the Program Planning Committee.
Yeah, I should have let Mark report on it so people wouldn't have to listen to me the whole time.
Oh no, we're perfectly happy to listen to you.
So Joe held a meeting for the Access and Preservation Committee. The only two attendees were Joe and myself.
Okay.
And some other people had a few things come up that.
Sure.
So it was kind of out of their control. I didn't know that I would be reporting today. Some of what we discussed is actually collaboration between the new AC's Clear subcommittee and the Access and Preservation Committee.
Okay.
That's a lot of what we talked about.
Great.
And the Access and Preservation Committee in C's basically is in charge of the website.
Right.
And we have done some other things in the past, such as trying to compile Slavic and East European electronic resources, but you know the various iterations of it didn't really go anywhere. So
no, it's sort of an impossible task.
Exactly. So the Slavic Humanities group in ACES is actually they've kind of created a site that within ACES Commons that attempts to do that again in a slightly different in a slightly different way, or permutation, that was the word I wanted to say.
Okay.
And so the Education and Access Subcommittee will have a liaison to the Slavic Humanities group.
Okay.
And there are already a couple people on that committee who are active in the Slavic Humanities group, so that's a discussion that will take place there. And as far as the Access and Preservation Committee of C's, that's really all we talked about.
That's good. Well, it's good to hear that there's more sort of, spontaneous liaising
happening. So that seems encouraging vis-a-vis what we discussed earlier in the meeting about wanting there to be structures between the new section and these other bodies. So
sure,
that's good to hear. Thank you very much. And are you also reporting on the program planning committee?
Yes, I am.
All right.
So the program title.
John can send me some minutes if he wants someone else to report them. Just email them to me and someone else can report on them. I'm just kidding.
I should have done that. I didn't realize that I'd be talking so much here. So,
well, no, well, we're grateful.
So this program has been organized primarily by Brad with some assistance from me and other members of the subcommittee on Eurasian and Central Asian subcommittee. The name of the program will be Eurasian and Central Asian Studies in the Heartland and Beyond. The program explores challenges of building collections about Central Asia. Andy Spencer from the University of Wisconsin-Madison and Kit Condell from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign will talk about their strategies for acquiring materials from the region, which may include acquisition trips, which they have taken, exchange programs, which they have been involved in, whether materials exchange or personnel exchanges, as well as vendor supplied materials. Little Arpensa had agreed initially to speak, but he was unable to get support from his institution to be a part of that program. So we are looking into inviting the library director from American University of Central Asia. Her name is Yildiz Bekbalaeva.
Great.
So it's possible that she might be able to provide an in-country perspective on libraries in Central Asia. And that's where it stands.
That sounds very good. Are there any questions about that report, about any of the other reports, any other comments anyone would like to make about anything ACRL C/S related matters?
I have a very general comment.
Okay.
And that is that I think it would be helpful for attracting new membership and engaging the existing membership for our section, and especially after the merger, to engage more actively in social media and in new media, because so much work that we have been doing, which is excellent work, but it is still fairly static.
True.
We do publish even the Slavic cataloging manual. It's a static list of documents, and much of our reports and even the newsletter, it's still a static web page, and so including at least the expertise of people who know or are willing to learn how to make interactive tutorials, YouTube videos, who could tweet somewhat regularly. At least, I think these are the opportunities that should not be overlooked. This will really help to, as I said, to attract the membership. And it also will help a great deal with our subject matter, both for Western and Eastern European studies, because once we unleash the full power of Unicode and the regional characters, these materials will be more interesting, I think, to our prospective audience. So
absolutely.
Just a thought, something that's I mean, I've been struck by its absence for quite some time, and so maybe after the merger, it would be a good time to revisit this on a broader level and to see, what kind of investment this is.
Yes, I think that's absolutely true, and we can start to think about it before the merger as well. I guess the one question being, how it is exactly that we want to brand C-specific social media transmissions or groups, etc., as being a sub-body within ESS. But I'm sure that's an easily resolvable question. But yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic idea. And you're right, we have sort of been amiss on that count. So thank you very much. Is there anything else from anyone else? If not, then I think we can adjourn. So thank you very much to everybody for participating and for all the work you've done in all the committees and for the reports. And I will get this ACRL Board of Directors action form up on the website. And other than that, any questions or issues that arise, just feel free to contact me at any time. So is that